Well, Senator Kirsten Gillibrand of New York came down positively unglued on Tuesday, barking at the Commandant of the Marine Corps for nearly 2 minutes while blaming him for not stopping sexual harassment in the Corps. Here's part of it. Watch.
When you say to us, it's got to be different, that rings hollow. I don't know what you mean when you say that. Why does it have to be different? Because you all of a sudden feel that it has to be different? Who has been held accountable? I very much align myself with Senator Fisher's comments. Who has been held responsible? Have you actually investigated and found guilty anybody? If we can't crack Facebook, how are we supposed to be able to confront Russian aggression and cyber hacking throughout our military? It is a serious problem when we have members of our military denigrating female Marines who will give their life to this country in the way they have, with no response from leadership. I can tell you, your answers today are unsatisfactory. They do not go far enough. And I would like you to know what you intend to do to the commanders who are responsible for good order and discipline. All of this behavior is in violation of Article 120 and Article 34 as so stated. They are violating the Code of Criminal Justice. Why are commanders who have asked for all responsibility to deal with sexual assault and these behaviors for the 5 years this committee has been focused on this issue? You have demanded that you maintain control of all these issues. But where's the accountability for failure? Who is being held accountable for doing nothing since 2013? Who? Which commander? I am very...
Congressman Lee Zeldin is a Republican representing the state of New York. He's also a veteran. He joins us now. Congressman, thanks a lot for coming on. Senator. This seemed out of proportion, for one, given the crime that she was talking about, which is Marines putting up nude pictures of women they had dated who were also Marines. Awful. I would never defend that. I think it's cruel. But for, I think, by most accounts, the least impressive senator of the United States Senate to basically scream at a man who served as a Marine officer for 42 years in a public hearing is a little over the top, don't you think?
Senator Gillibrand was certainly pretty fired up. There are definitely different ways to approach that questioning of the Marine General. I do believe General Neller handled that interaction with outstanding leadership. He didn't make any excuses. He took full ownership and responsibility over the entire situation. I don't know if if I would approach it the same way that Senator Gillibrand did, but I thought that she was just genuinely emotional and speaking out on behalf of those victims and wanting to see the Marine Corps and all branches of our military take action to ensure that this doesn't continue.
Yeah.
That goal is one I certainly agree with.
Well, sure. I mean, no one wants to see that kind of stuff. The purpose of the Marine Corps is to fight and win wars. I didn't see any mention of that. But I guess it's the proportion here. So General Neller is not responsible for putting those pictures up. There's no evidence that he favors it or he's gone lightly on it. And this is clearly just grandstanding. I mean, and it's something she's engaged in repeatedly. Anybody who's followed her career knows she said all kinds of totally outrageous and unsupportable things over the years on this topic. I just don't think it's appropriate to do that to someone like General Neller, would you say?
Watching the entire exchange and seeing General Neller's handling of it, knowing who's sitting in that chair, knowing that he's someone who wants there to be accountability, that he would want there to be an investigation that yields to wherever crimes can be identified for people to be prosecuted, for non-judicial punishment, for corrective training, to improve the culture of the Marine Corps. Knowing that General Neller's in that chair over the course of decades of service, he's been through a whole lot where he's not going to be rattled by any one senator's questioning. For that particular exchange, I think on both sides, Senator Gillibrand's comments as well as General Neller's comments, it sends a message to any of the individuals involved in posting these pictures, as well as sending a message for any of those female victims. We need to find out which females. Maybe there's a picture out there where a female consented, maybe they didn't consent. Maybe there was access to a particular database for posting a photo that was illegal. So it's not like there's just one particular crime that might have been committed, or the stories might have been the same.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of things to worry about with the U.S. Armed Forces, especially the Marine Corps, but most of them revolve around their capacity to defend the United States of America. And I'm not really sure why Congress would be involved in something like this in the first place. For the third time, not making any defense of this, it's bad. But let's be real here. Here's the real agenda. This is part of what Senator Gillibrand said, and I think it gets to what she's really after. Watch this.
I am very concerned that this is part of a culture that is resulting in the high levels of sexual assault.
The old culture of the military line. Here's what it's really about, and you know this as well as I, you're a veteran, is that many on the left, the cultural left, the frivolous cultural left that Senator Gillibrand so ably represents, hate the culture of the military because it's warlike and masculine, and they want to change that. That's what this is really about.
Yeah, I certainly experienced both during my time when I first started Army ROTC. President Clinton was in office. Going through President Bush and then President Obama, I still serve in the Army Reserves. I do feel like over the course of the last couple of years, especially, there's been a little bit more of a social engineering of the military. I recently had Army Reserve training where the entire Sunday morning was spent on transgender training. And what we should be focusing most importantly for our service members is ensuring that they are best prepared for combat to protect and defend our country. The number one, only actually, mandatory function of our federal government constitutionally is to provide for the common defense. So that should be priority number one, and we need to make sure that with the new administration and with General Mattis that our Department of Defense goes away from social engineering and more towards keeping Americans safe primarily and only.
Yeah, you think? I mean, that's all that matters. We're in a really silly stage in American history right now. Congressman, thanks a lot for all of that. I appreciate it.
Thank you.